Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we try to get right into the heart of what's actually shaping things around us, cut through all the noise, and really focus on the insights that matter. And today, we've got a story it's almost hard to believe, really. Think about this. A company's stock jumps nearly 40% in one day.
Yeah.
And its total value triples in just 4 years. We're talking about Oracle. A tech titan, sure, but one maybe you thought was kind of past its prime. But this recent surge, it's not just some stock market blip. It feels like a huge flashing sign pointing straight at the future of AI and, well, these massive shifts in global finance.
It really is fascinating. And Oracle's path, it gives us this this really clear window into everything else that's happening. Technological innovation, how markets are changing, all of it. It's a powerful story about needing to make big strategic changes and about leadership, visionary, sometimes flawed, but ultimately driving things forward. And it really makes you think about how we value things now, how we see growth in this completely new era.
Absolutely. And that's what we want to do for you, our listener, today. We want to dig out the really crucial takeaways, the important insights from a, frankly, brilliant conversation. We've been looking closely at the perspectives of Mookie Tenenbaum. He's got such a sharp eye for financial markets and AI. And his discussion with Claudio Suchovicki just peels back all these layers on Oracle's success. So we'll get into the strategic moves, Larry Ellison's pretty amazing personal story, and what it all means for your perspective on what's coming. We're not just looking at what's happening, but why it's happening and how it's just fundamentally changing the rules for, well, everyone. So yeah, let's really unpack this. Okay, let's start with the numbers, because honestly, they're kind of mind-blowing. They really tell this story. Just imagine maybe 4 years back, Oracle stock. It's sitting around $100. Respectable? Yeah, but not exactly setting the world on fire today. It's not just over $100. It's blown past $300. And here's the really wild part. A huge piece of that increase, almost 40%, happened in one day. For a company like Oracle, that big, that established, a move like that in a single day is...
Well, it's staggering. Usually you see that with tiny companies, right? Not these giants. How does someone like Tenenbaum even start to explain that kind of rapid revaluation?
Well, it's almost a perfect textbook case of the market being, intensely forward-looking. It's like it's trying to predict the future. As Tenenbaum really emphasized, this huge jump wasn't just about Oracle's current numbers, though, to be fair, those were way better than expected. The real engine behind it was the market seeing this incredibly bright future outlook. Investors are basically buying the story of what Oracle will be, not just what it is right now. They're placing a huge bet on Oracle's path for the next, say, 5-10 years. And that bet suddenly got very, very aggressive.
Okay, so what exactly made that future look so incredibly rosy all of a sudden? Seems like two big things stand out, right? Both tied directly to AI. First, that massive agreement with OpenAI. Now, OpenAI, that's a name pretty much everyone knows now in the AI world. That partnership, Tenenbaum says, was a key reason for the recent stock jump, pushing Oracle's value closer to that. What did he call it? An Argentine billion.
Yeah, the Argentine billion, which, for most of us is $1 trillion. It just highlights the absolutely mind-boggling scale we're talking about.
Right, $1 trillion. But what's really interesting, and maybe easy to forget, is this wasn't the first time Oracle was central to some huge future-focused project. Tenenbaum brought up Project Stargate. Remind us about that.
Yes, Project Stargate. That's such a critical piece of this whole story. It really speaks to Oracle's deep roots in, global data infrastructure. The OpenAI deal is fresh, sure. But think back a bit. Remember when President Trump announced this enormous $600 billion project, supposedly the world's largest database? Well, SoftBank put up the cash, the huge investment. And Oracle. They were picked to build this absolutely massive data center. Tenenbaum pointed out that that project, just by itself, had already caused Oracle's stock to jump something like 25% in one quarter previously. This wasn't just some random contract. It showed Oracle's unique power. They're known for these super robust, secure, scalable databases for big companies, absolutely essential for handling data on the scale Stargate was talking about. Where security, reliability, it's everything. It really shows Oracle isn't just like jumping on the AI train now. They've been laying the heavy-duty tracks for this whole data-driven future for decades.
And right at the center of it all, this journey from $100 to over $300, these huge projects, this sudden explosion in value, is one person, Larry Ellison. Tenenbaum describes Oracle as just uniquely shaped by him, sort of like Zuckerberg and Meta, maybe, just, decades apart. Ellison's own story is pretty wild, too. Not your typical tech founder narrative. He was adopted, grew up poor in South Chicago, dropped out of college. Didn't even get into programming until his late 20s.
Not at all the standard path. And that journey, overcoming challenges, coming into tech later, it really gives Oracle's story a unique flavor. It's not just a company history. It's tied to this leader's willpower and vision over so many years. And his wealth accumulation, also astonishing. Tenenbaum joked, that Ellison was the richest man in the world for a day, or pretty close, adding millions, maybe billions in a single day. That kind of wealth creation tied to one person, it does make you stop and think about the leverage founders have these days.
He definitely has a knack for spotting opportunities, almost uncanny. But Tannenbaum also brings up something else, maybe even more insightful about Oracle and Ellison. Something beyond just making money. It's the ability to learn from failure. This is where it gets really interesting, I think. A lesson for everyone, really. Because Ellison, initially, he was dead set against the cloud, the very thing that's now central to everything in tech. He thought it wouldn't work, just flat out rejected the idea when he first heard it, called it a fad, basically.
Yeah, that initial miss is so important for understanding how Oracle reinvented itself. While Oracle was busy building the best, toughest, often priciest databases for companies to run on their own premises, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, they were taking off precisely because they went all in on the cloud, building this massive, scalable infrastructure. Tenenbaum saw that period as, a clear example of what happens when maybe pride or just sticking to what blinds you to a huge shift. But here's the genius part, according to Tenenbaum. Ellison's incredible ability to see he was wrong. He didn't just stubbornly defend his old position. No, he led this massive company-wide shift, completely reinvented Oracle's services to compete and even dominate in the cloud. That act, admitting you messed up, changing direction, doing it fast, especially for a company Oracle's size and age, that's presented as the key lesson. You know that saying, it's not about making mistakes.
Right, that's how quickly you fix them.
Exactly, how quickly and how effectively.
And Tenenbaum really hammers that point home, the speed, the decisiveness of that correction. He even uses Apple as a kind of counterexample, suggesting maybe Apple, in contrast, didn't quite manage that same course correction with AI. I mean, Apple still makes great tools, great devices, obviously. But many see them as having kind of missed out on that first big wave of AI development, especially the large language models compared to Microsoft or Google or, well, now even Oracle. It's a stark contrast, isn't it? Shows that even the biggest players can stumble if they aren't agile, may be humble enough to adapt. So the lesson from Oracle isn't just about seeing the future. It's about having the guts to say, I was wrong, and moving incredibly fast to get back on track, especially now when tech moves at lightning speed. It's just proof you constantly have to evolve. Okay, so we've got Oracle's dramatic growth, Ellison's leadership, that massive cloud pivot. But let's connect all that directly to what Oracle actually does, its core business, and crucially, how that deep expertise set them up for this latest huge leap into AI. Tenenbaum kept coming back to it. Oracle's real specialty, the foundation Ellison built way back when, is databases.
Precisely. That was Ellison's initial genius, as Tenenbaum put it. It wasn't just about storing data, not at all. It was about building these really sophisticated systems that let you cross-reference, analyze huge, complicated amounts of data, customer data, company data, super fast, super securely, super efficiently, basically making data incredibly useful, actionable, reliable, secure. That deep foundation, that mastery of managing data at enterprise scale, that became the absolute bedrock for their AI strategy. Without that ability to handle data really well, their AI plans would just be, well, talk.
And that leads right into how Oracle developed its own AI, which Tenenbaum really stressed was a key difference. He was clear. Oracle didn't just, stick a ChatGPT interface on their products and call it AI. He saw a lot of companies making that mistake, just being a middleman for someone else's AI. Oracle's way was much more strategic, right? Deeper, tailored to what they already do best.
Exactly. What's so smart here is how they used their specific expertise. Instead of chasing the generic AI stuff, Oracle built its own AI, specifically designed to enhance its core strength databases. Tenenbaum gave a great example. Imagine using AI to sift through tons of customer data in an Oracle database, and it predicts, with amazing accuracy, which customers might be about to stop paying their bills so the business can step in early. Or, flip side, identifying potential customers who, based on their data profile, probably won't buy anything. Saves the sales team a ton of wasted effort. That's so different from just a chatbot or an image maker. It's a really deep, specific use of AI, pulling real, measurable value right out of the data Oracle manages for its clients. It's like asking, what hidden patterns can AI find in our clients' specific data that they could never find using old methods? That's a huge advantage. It goes way beyond just making things efficient. It's about predictive power, strategic smarts.
That really is a powerful differentiator.
Using their unique position in the enterprise data world, not just copying others. But okay, even with their own strong internal AI work, Oracle isn't doing this alone, right? Tannenbaum also pointed to those big partnerships. Specifically, that recent major deal with OpenAI, that doesn't contradict their own AI strategy, does it? Seems more like they're doing both.
Exactly. It's a brilliant dual strategy. And if you zoom out, it perfectly shows how complex AI development is right now. It's incredibly collaborative, but also fiercely competitive. Oracle's ability to innovate internally, building AI that directly boosts their database and cloud products, that's one strong pillar. But it's made even stronger by making these high-level strategic deals with other giants, like OpenAI. It shows they understand that no single company, doesn't matter how big, can do everything in AI. The field is just too diverse, moving too fast. The biggest breakthroughs often happen when you combine your own strengths, like Oracle's data handling, with cutting-edge external expertise, like OpenAI's models. It's about playing the game smart within the whole global AI ecosystem, not just standing alone, but strategically linking up with other key players to get ahead faster, together.
And, kind of related, but maybe a bit different, Tenenbaum also briefly mentioned Oracle's reputation as an employer. He said, even though it's an older company, it's known as a good place to work. They get and keep top people. Might seem like a small thing when you're talking trillions of dollars, but it actually matters a lot, doesn't it? For being able to keep innovating and pulling off these huge AI plans and pivots. You need the absolute best engineers, the best minds to build this stuff.
Oh, absolutely crucial. Talent is everything in this game.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit now. Moving from just Oracle strategy to a much bigger picture. And it's a pretty stark picture that Tenenbaum paints of the market today. He talks about it being dominated by what he calls the 8 giants. It's a powerful image, basically the S&P 500, maybe the Dow Jones. It's really being pulled along by these huge companies. You know the names: Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Meta, Nvidia, Tesla, and now Oracle really pushing hard to join that club. And the other 492 companies, they're kind of like dwarves in comparison, he says, the market hitting record highs. He argues it's mostly down to the success of just these few. Sounds like extreme concentration.
It really is. And Tenenbaum gives a striking example to show just how concentrated it is. He pointed to Nvidia. For a while there, it represented something like 18% of the entire Nasdaq's value. One company. That's not just a little imbalance, it's a massive concentration of power, money, influence in just a few places. And this kind of dominance naturally leads to a new way these companies work together, almost exclusively among themselves. Tenenbaum calls it an endogamous relationship, like they only marry within the family, so to speak.
Endogamous. Wow, that's a strong word for it, like an internal marriage of giants. So
Hmm.
why? Why do these giants mostly just partner with other giants now? Tenenbaum lays out the pretty clear practical reason. Smaller companies just can't offer the scale they need, or the certainty, or the level of security these massive AI projects demand.
Yeah, it's not about the big fish eating the small fish anymore. Not really. It's about giants needing other giants to reach that next level.
And this signals a huge shift, doesn't it, from what Tenenbaum called the imperialist era.
Exactly. That time when big tech just bought up promising smaller companies left and right, like Yahoo getting snapped up. Now it's different. These endogamous partnerships benefit both sides usually. Think about it. Oracle provides cloud for OpenAI. Microsoft puts OpenAI into its software. Google works with Apple or maybe Microsoft on some things. When these deals happen, often the stock prices of both companies go up, not just the one providing the service. It reinforces this idea of a closed loop, a self-boosting ecosystem where massive value gets created and mostly shared among just a few players. It builds this almost impossible wall for others to climb over. They pool resources, share the crazy costs of AI development, use each other's strength. They just move faster than anyone else could alone.
Which sounds, well, kind of grim for the classic startup dream, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Tenenbaum suggests it's getting way harder for startups to really break through and have those big exits like we used to see. He asks a pretty blunt question. Why even bother with a startup now? Even if you have a brilliant idea, the giants can often copy it or just do it better with their huge R&D teams and money.
Right. And crucially, the giants don't have much reason to buy them anymore. Why, Tenenbaum asks, would a giant buy a problem? You know, a small company that might not scale, might be hard to integrate, has a different culture. Why do that when you can just partner with another giant who brings proven tech, tons of cash, and similar capabilities?
It really makes you question the future of innovation, doesn't it? If that traditional startup path, build something cool, get bought, is shrinking.
Yeah, how do genuinely disruptive new ideas get out there and grow in this new world? Tenenbaum's view suggests the giant's sheer size, capital, infrastructure, computing power, talent creates these almost unbeatable barriers for newcomers. It could mean innovation gets more centralized, maybe less diverse, less radical stuff coming from outside the club. It's not just a business observation, it affects the health of the whole tech world. What if the next big thing comes from a small team that just can't get a giant's attention?
Makes you wonder about those garage to billionaire stories. Are they becoming rarer? And it's not just the little guys feeling squeezed. Tenenbaum also talked about Europe trying to compete. These efforts, often tough ones, to create their own space in this giant-dominated world. He mentioned ASML and Mistral.
Ah yes, ASML. They're a fascinating case. A Dutch company. They make the incredibly complex machines, EUV lithography systems that you absolutely need to make the most advanced computer chips. Tenenbaum said ASML has something like a 25-year lead. No one else comes close. So they're fundamental, critical to the whole global tech supply chain. Modern chips just wouldn't exist without them. But even with all that power, ASML still isn't one of the core 8 giants actually building and using the AI directly. They enable it, but they aren't developing it in the same way.
And that's where Mistral fits in. ASML invested in Mistral, a European AI company.
Exactly. It was a clear move by ASML, recognizing Europe needed its own AI presence, trying to build a counterweight to the US and Asian giants. But Tenenbaum pointed out this basic problem for ASML, what he called the 2 categories problem.
The 2 categories problem. Okay, what's that?
It highlights the limits, even for a super powerful, essential company like ASML. Logically, ASML might want to expand by buying, say, a top chip maker. But TSMC in Taiwan completely dominates chip manufacturing. Basically untouchable, a national asset, not for sale.
Okay.
Or maybe ASML could buy a top chip design company, but NVIDIA leads that field by a mile. The others are way behind.
Great.
So ASML, despite being crucial and having tons of resources, couldn't just buy its way into those key adjacent areas. It forced them into a different strategy, like investing in Mistral, trying to nurture a European alternative. Tenenbaum's point is that this endogamy of giants, this system, is incredibly hard to disrupt or rebalance. It leaves you with these 8 companies strengthening each other, expanding their lead. And even other really powerful players like ASML are left navigating this tricky path, trying to build regional options that struggle to match the sheer scale of the giants.
So all of this brings us to maybe the most profound part of Tenenbaum's thinking. And honestly, it's a bit unsettling. It's about the future just being unknowable. We're seeing companies valued in the multi-trillions. Can you actually justify those numbers with traditional methods, future earnings, discounted cash flow? When asked directly, Tenenbaum basically admitted he wasn't sure. He put it down to the incredible speed of change with AI, just sheer velocity, and the number of things we simply don't know. It's like trying to predict the weather 100 years out, except the climate itself is changing at warp speed.
Yeah, and what's really interesting is Tenenbaum's sort of hypothesis, almost conspiratorial but maybe deeply true. They know something we don't. He suggests these huge companies operating at that massive scale, they see things. Maybe they have access to data or models or just a kind of foresight that regular analysts, academics, even experts like him just can't access or comprehend. There's a level of understanding maybe that only comes from being right at the very top of these giant organizations. He even told that story about his father's advice.
Oh yeah, the rich people advice.
That's the one. If the rich people are buying it, buy it yourself. They know what they're doing. It points to this kind of reliance on the perceived wisdom, the inside track of the big players, when the future gets too murky for normal analysis. It's almost like admitting the old rules don't fully apply anymore, and our human tools for predicting just aren't quite up to the job.
It feels like a huge leap of faith, though, doesn't it? Just trusting the people at the top have a better map. But Tenenbaum seems really sure about one thing. He really pushes back against the idea that this is all just a bubble.
Oh, absolutely. He called that comparison infantile, said this is nothing like the dot-com boom or even earlier shifts like electricity or the wheel. He seems genuinely convinced that this AI-driven market is really just getting started.
Just getting started. Wow.
Yeah, and that raises the question of how we even frame this growth. Tenenbaum talks about the potential of AI being just staggering, unimaginable almost. He predicts it could be, 100 or even 1,000 times bigger in just 5 years, depending on things like regulation, global politics. His main point is that AI's potential is so vast, so fast expanding, that the horizon of its impact is just too far away for us to see clearly right now. We can't really measure it with our current tools. Unlike past tech shifts where eventually we could sort of see the edges, the limits, AI feels different, almost boundless from where we stand now. He sees it not as inflated value, but as a fundamental reset of what's even possible.
And this is where Tenenbaum drops what might be the biggest, most mind-bending idea, the one that really makes you pause. AI's autonomy. He suggests AI is quickly moving past just being a tool we use. It's becoming independent, a collaborator, an intelligence in its own right.
Yes. It's no longer just about what we do with the data. It's becoming about what the AI itself can do. He puts it very starkly. AI knows what to do with data in ways we don't yet understand. The tool is starting to lead, suggesting paths, making connections that go beyond human intuition.
That's a massive shift in thinking.
It really is, both conceptually and philosophically. Tenenbaum used that great analogy. Today's generative AI, like ChatGPT, that's just the puppy. It's designed to get us used to the idea, comfortable with the giant dog that's coming. The real power, he argues, isn't in the chat interfaces. It's in the raw numbers, the complex calculations, the patterns it finds that are just beyond human scale. He even said advanced AIs are already communicating, operating internally, using languages or logic we struggle to fully decipher. But he's also clear this independence isn't about Skynet or the doom scenarios from people like Yuval Noah Harari. The machine, Tenenbaum assures us, doesn't care about those human dramas. It just operates on a level of computation and pattern finding that's beyond our current grasp. Think about AI analyzing massive climate data sets, or global financial flows, or complex biological systems, finding connections, predicting outcomes that no human team could possibly spot because they're too complex, too subtle. It's not just doing human tasks faster, it's doing things we couldn't even think to ask it to do, augmenting our understanding in ways we can barely imagine.
Okay, so that completely changes the game for investing, right? If the tool is leading, if the market's driven by this intelligence we don't fully get, if the future's that uncertain, how do you even make a strategy? Tenenbaum had another analogy for this, didn't he? The taxi driver.
Yeah, the taxi driver in an unknown city. It captures the feeling perfectly. He explained it like this. Think about being dropped in a massive, unfamiliar city like Beijing. You need to get somewhere, but you have no idea how. What do? You get in a taxi. You trust the driver knows the way, even if you don't understand the route, the language, the street signs. That, he says, is like the division of labor in today's market, taken to an extreme. We as investors increasingly have to rely on the big companies, the taxi drivers of the economy. We trust that they, collectively, know where things are going, even if we, the passengers, can't see the map or understand their navigation system, the AI. He stressed how limited our human foresight is now. Even the smartest analysts at the biggest banks, they're still human. They can only guess at a future that's going to emerge from AI itself. We literally can't imagine what the tool will want to calculate next, what new industries it might create out of thin air.
So faced with that uncertainty, that reliance on distributed knowledge, one strategy becomes pretty clear, almost the default. Invest in the safest taxi company.
Exactly. Put your money on the biggest, most established players. The Oracles, the Microsofts, the Nvidias, the ones everyone perceives as knowing what they're doing. Even if you personally don't fully grasp the AI magic behind their valuation. It's like intelligent delegation, trusting the perceived competence.
But Tenenbaum also offered a counterpoint, didn't he? His own personal rule.
Right. He's also a big believer in, I don't invest in what I don't understand. Pragmatic, responsible. He used Bitcoin as his example. Acknowledged others see huge potential, but for him, if he can't grasp the fundamentals, the long-term picture, he stays away. So that gives you, the listener, another way to think about it, a more cautious approach. It's a reminder that even when things feel unknowable, some basic investing principles like understanding your comfort level with risk and uncertainty still hold true. You tailor it to yourself.
Wow. Okay, that was quite a journey we just took together.
Mm-hmm.
We really dug into Oracle's incredible turnaround, Ellison's unique leadership, stubborn sometimes, but visionary too, that huge cloud pivot after he initially dismissed it, and now how they're using AI in this really smart, data-focused way, not just reselling it, but building it into their core strength.
Yeah, and then zooming out to Tenenbaum's bigger, maybe darker view of the market, that endogamy of giants.
Wow.
How these huge companies mostly partner with each other now, creating this exclusive club, makes it tough for smaller players, changes the whole game of competition, maybe even innovation.
But maybe the biggest takeaway, the thing that really sticks with you from Tenenbaum, is what he admits we don't know. The sheer speed, the scale of AI. It means even the experts, the people closest to it, are struggling. struggling to justify these crazy valuations, struggling to predict a future that AI itself is busy creating almost on its own.
It's incredibly humbling, isn't it, to really face the limits of our own human ability to see ahead when things are changing this fast, driven by something potentially beyond our full comprehension.
Absolutely. And Tenenbaum really ends by emphasizing that. We need to understand our own limits here. As people, as investors, maybe it's becoming less about knowing exactly what to do based on perfect information, and more about recognizing what we can't know, and then deciding how we navigate that uncertainty.
Right. Do you place your trust in the process, in the perceived knowledge of the giants? Or do you step back if that trust just isn't there for you personally?
Which leaves a really big personal question for you listening right now. If the world's biggest companies are making these multi-trillion-dollar bets on a future that's still emerging, a future maybe even they don't fully understand, what does that mean for your own strategy, your own investments?
How do you navigate this market when it seems driven by an intelligence that, like Tenenbaum suggests, might operate beyond our immediate grasp, with a horizon further out than we can really see?
Do you trust the taxi driver, get in the cab, and hope they know the way to this unimaginable destination, relying on their expertise, their resources? Or do you choose a more cautious route? Maybe stay off that particular highway until the destination seems clearer, acknowledging your own limits in this truly new frontier. The deep dive is over. But you're thinking, well, that's probably just beginning.